Hello there, coming to you from just outside of Dillon, Colorado, which is at about 9,100 feet. It is Tuesday, September 30th, and 2025, of course. And, I'm back on the road. Couldn't be happier about that, really, honestly. I had just lost I really had a good rhythm going on, with traveling for the 25 days that preceded getting into Denver. And I certainly have I've spent an equivalent of, 50% of the same amount of time now not doing what I was doing 100% of the time prior to that. So it'll be interesting to reacclimate to the world of travel. I'm very, very stoked about it. And I'm at a great spot. I'm happy to be able to say that again, and not have it be the same spot that I'll just keep coming back to. I am on some bike trail, and there is like this tunnel thing that has enough room for me to roll out my inflatable mattress and get cozy and go to bed soon. It's early. It's, like I said, 7:43 now. And very stoked to get up at 5. It's going to be very cold. And head over to McDonald's. So they open at 5. I'll get up at 5. Everyone will be happy. But yeah, a very big day on the bike. 8,000 feet of elevation gain over 70 miles. So what is that? It's like 1,000 feet per 10 miles, basically. I guess a little more, actually. I guess I can't do that math, but you could do it if you want to. And so yeah, it was a really good day. I think first and foremost, I'm very, very happy to report that I fueled appropriately for this jaunt into the Rockies proper. I really, really didn't want this to take a lot out of me. And I wanted to be able to get to, a spot like where I am right now and feel generally okay and good and, not like the day had dragged me down or anything like that. Because, it's a big transition to go from staying at around 5,000 feet in Golden, Colorado, and sort of being, with a known, a known quantity, I suppose. I just kept thinking quandary. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, today was a huge day. I went all the way up to Loveland Pass, which was, I got a picture of it. I'll make it the album art. But it was I don't know, 11,000 some hundred number of feet high. And I started at 5,000 feet, and of course it was not just straight up the mountain all day. I mean, it was, believe you me, it was a lot of up, but there was also a pretty good deal of down. So, I'd make these gains, and then they'd all be taken away, and then I'd have to just pedal on and pedal through. So, yeah, it was a really good day. Let me think chronologically. I guess I woke up around 6:30. And, honestly, I had kind of woken up with the thought that I was going to look into staying an extra day because I was worried about the weather. Tomorrow is supposed to be a really nice day. It was a really nice day today, honestly. As far as a cyclist is concerned, it was pretty overcast, and it was certainly cool all day. Which is it's very, very good conditions for the efforts like what I had to do. I certainly could keep going. I've strategically placed myself about 4 miles away from a McDonald's, which I cannot wait to go to tomorrow morning. Restart that happiness train, Oh, speaking of which, I need to get the McDonald's app just to do my dude, Zach, a solid. He told me about it, and I really should do it because I do be eating McDonald's all the time. Let me just make a quick note. Let's call it the Mac app. That should be enough. So, yeah, I'm kind of just running out the clock now. I want to make sure that no one is going to be coming by, hopefully. I'll have some pretty good heads up if someone does come by this area. But yeah, once I set everything up, it's going to be pretty unambiguous. I'm just right next to a pedestrian thoroughfare. But it's cold, it's dark. I don't think that a lot of people would be coming around this area. I did see one guy with his dogs a little bit earlier when I first got here, but by and large, I don't know on a Tuesday night why anyone would want to be right here unless you were me, you know. But yeah, so I got up at 6:30, and I was just kind of, I wanted to repack all my stuff pretty desperately. I'd come home yesterday from the podcast, and they had given me a bunch of swag, and I had just kind of thrown it in my bike because I had like more pressing needfuls with dinner and then getting home, and I ate some apples, of course, and just kind of relaxed. I didn't really want to do all that, but this morning it was time to do the things that I had not done last night, and so a big part of that packing up kind of, I was just like, I should just go. Like, it's not there's not like, there's not a storm on the horizon that I've been hearing about, like in the typical fear-mongering kind of way where, perhaps my plans were intersecting with some really bad predicted weather, and I started hearing people talk about it, and then those people inevitably would talk to me, and then they would be like, oh, you really shouldn't go. Like, today was not a day like that. Like, today was a perfect weather day for this kind of effort. I mean, if it was in the summer and it was really hot or exposed, it would be a very different day. That's one of the interesting things about anytime you do something like this. If you've done it multiple times, again, I've mentioned it before, but it is interesting to think about how the conditions of that particular day will forever color your memory of that area, and case in point, I now have gone up Look Up Mountain. I've done that climb 3 times now, which I might have mentioned last night that I would be doing that again. And each time was starkly different. I'd say, the first time was very difficult. It was hot. It was exposed. It was strenuous. And then the second time when my bike was unloaded, it was very, I wouldn't say easy, but just so much easier to find the rhythm. Because, I settle into this, and this is pretty much what all cyclists do, I'm sure, but you find this sustainable rhythm where you can continue to put out power, and, it's enough to feel like you're making progress without it being so much that you're like redlining. I didn't redline at all today. It was definitely hard, and I certainly was, it was physically difficult in the sense that objectively it's just physically difficult. So you will encounter certain kinds of demons when you're going through something that is just objectively hard. It's like that little voice in your head being like, oh my God, which I guess this is just the voice in my head. But, when I was at 8,500 feet, I was like, wow, this is the highest I've been on this entire trip, 8,500 feet. And I still have to get up to 11,000 plus. And I was like, and I climbed up from 5,000. So, I'm already 3,000 plus deep into this whole climbing thing. But yeah, man, it was a big day. And I want to say real quick before moving on, shout out to my dude Logan, who I met on the way out of Golden. He helped me enjoy the climb a little bit more than I would have otherwise by my lonesome, and just a cool dude overall. So Logan, if you happen to be listening, thanks for the push, my dude. I appreciate the carry up the hill, up the mountain, and also all of the information, because everything that he told me today about what was going to lie between where I was and where I was going was accurate and good. I'm glad I made it. I honestly, there was a part of me too this morning that was starting to feel kind of comfortable and enjoying the idea of being in Golden, which is not something that I want to foster. I'm glad that happened because, Denver, I don't even know if I could stay there for any amount of time and come to a similar kind of state where I was like, I'm glad to be here, But with Golden, it was like, well, I like this RV park, and it's nice to have my tent set up and have all my stuff off of my bike. And I was like, I could do one more day, but it would be expensive, and thankfully it was unnecessary. So I packed all my stuff up, and I left, I don't know, around 7:30 or so. And I was on the road again, and went over to Humble House and did my digital needfuls and charged my stuff one last time. Had a great cup of coffee and 2 breakfast Sammies. So, the last $45 I'll spend there for a while. I think I probably spent hundreds of dollars while I was there at that restaurant, but, I didn't spend too much on lodging. I do really think about it like when I'm considering lodging options that I'm not taking. I think, well, that's basically 150 extra dollars that goes towards food. And boy, oh boy, was today just a tour of food. It was awesome. It was like exactly how I would want to climb a huge mountain pass like this, And shout out again also to that guy, Killian Jornet. Could be pronouncing both of his names wrong. But, the fact that this dude is out there trying to get all of the 14,000 foot peaks, it's just like, dude, I was so... I wouldn't say I was over it because I would have kept going if I needed to, but I certainly wasn't going to seek out a more challenging way to get across the Rockies than what I have so far done. And I'm glad that it was at a lower elevation. It would have been very, very... it would have been very, very cold, to say the least. I mean, not to skip ahead too much, but when I was descending the pass and crossing over the Continental Divide, which was really cool, it got down to like 35 degrees according to my computer, and certainly probably colder than that with the actual wind that was going by me. So I'll have to get to a different story later in the chronology. But anyway, left Humble House at about maybe... 9 or so, 9:30, I don't really remember, and got to go and start the the Lookout Mountain climb for the third time, which is a strong like 2,000 feet in 13 miles kind of thing, and that was great. It wasn't super overcast. It was comfortable temperature. It was still early in the morning, and my bike felt good. Like, doing it alone, that climb with a loaded bike is a lot, I would say, better and easier, just because I don't have to feel like I need to keep up with anybody. I can just go at my own pace, and that's, again, as soon as I find that rhythm and that sustainability, it's pretty much a done deal after that. It's just a matter of keeping an eye out for traffic, which was totally fine for the day. And so, got 13 miles in and had kind of rendezvoused just unplannedly with this guy Logan a couple of times. He was crisscrossing, doing routes that were parallel to where I was at. And, there was a gas station kind of complex at this one intersection 13 miles in. And I was like, dude, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and a snack. And so I bid him adieu, and I did go over to this gas station, had an amazing cup of coffee, had a good snack, and kind of chilled for a minute. I don't know how many hours of breaks I took today, but it worked out pretty well. I mean, if you think about like what my requirements are for like doing stuff like this, like I do want to arrive after dark, and I do want to basically bike all day. And so leaving for a 70-mile bike ride with 8,000 feet of elevation gain at 9:30 a.m. is apparently a good way to do that. I guess it took me 10 hours to do this ride. However, that's probably not true because of the moving time. I started the ride this morning from the campsite, and then I was definitely at the Humble House for a couple hours. So in any case, the gas station was great, and then I pressed forward from there towards, I believe, Idaho Springs was like the first big kind of like stop that would have like a grocery store and stuff like that. So it was another, I don't know, maybe 9 miles down the road to go to Idaho Springs, and all of this is pretty much uphill the entire time, It's either uphill or like a slight uphill. I'm reluctant to call some parts of it flat. But Idaho Springs was great. What did I do there? Did I stop at 2 cafes? Maybe I didn't. I know I went to a Safeway and got some apples and some peanut butter, which was fun to get all of those things back kind of restocked as I have run low recently being in Golden. And Safeway was good, and pressed on from there. What was the next big town? I guess Georgetown was another place I went through shortly thereafter. I know I did another coffee stop and just got a cortado, and then I bought some some protein builder Cliff Bars from the Safeway, which were great to have to supplement everything else that I was eating. Sorry about that. Drinking water. But yeah, that was great. Went to that. I went to another cafe that was like west of Georgetown and had a cortado and a little bit more snacks, and then went through, I think it was Keystone, and Keystone was a place that had a pretty nice gas station market, and I was able to, I had these ham and Swiss sliders and some Bobos, oat like, they were kind of like cookies, but they were PB&J flavored, both grape and strawberry. It was just a day of food, again. It wasn't like a really hard effort per se, because it was just low and slow, climbing and all that kind of stuff. But a huge preoccupation for me today, especially with the consideration of elevation gain. Oh, I also went to McDonald's. I forgot about that at some point. I think that was close to the time I went to Safeway. But the whole point is like, altitude and levels, being this high up, there are physiological effects that can occur that don't occur at lower elevations because of the pressure. And, I'm, fairly confident that my level of fitness and just my general acclimation to, I guess, more extreme conditions like this, I know that those are sort of in my favor in general. But proper fueling and proper hydration are like vitally important to make sure that at no point during this day did I bonk. And I'm happy to say that at no point in this day did I bonk. Funny enough, once I actually got to Loveland Pass proper and was at the, the summit sign that says what the elevation is and all that kind of stuff, I had started to descend and then very quickly realized that my shorts were not going to do. I needed to put on my leggings because I was just like, man, my knees are like freezing. And so I pulled over in like a very kind of, it was off the road, but still kind of awkward because it's like the whole ground is just slanted. So there's no flat area to like, do a wardrobe change or anything. So I took all of my knives and pepper spray out of my pockets. So that I could put them into my legging pockets so I could still have them accessible. But I rested them on my bike while I was actually doing the wardrobe change and forgot to put them back in my pocket before I left. And so I started to leave and continue my descent of this huge mountain from 11,000 plus feet. And then a little bit down the hill, I was like, maybe I should put on my down jacket too. And so I pulled over and I was about to put my down jacket on, and then I saw that my Swiss Army knife was just laying on my rear bags, and I was like, oh man, I just lost all my stuff, which I've done stuff like that before. There was one time I put my keys on top of my car, and then it was just like a bunch of stuff happening, and then I forgot about it, and then I did end up finding most of those keys that time, and this whole story is just to say I had descended about 200 feet, and then I realized that I didn't have my pepper spray and my knife, and I was like, man, like I really don't want to buy new ones of those. Like I don't want to have to think about getting a new knife or new pepper spray, especially I don't want to not have pepper spray as I continue down the trail, like it's something that really gives me a lot of comfort and makes me feel good about the environments that I find myself in, both in the daytime and the nighttime. And so I was like, well, I'm technically on vacation. So I decided that I would actually just turn around and bike back to the area that I had changed my leggings at, and hope that somewhere along that 200-foot ascent over the course of like a tenth of a mile or whatever, that I would find all of my stuff. And lo and behold, I did. First was the pepper spray, and then the knife a little bit closer to where I had actually done my wardrobe change. And both were still, neither had been hit by a car. So both are still working. And yeah, I'm happy about that. And so I did the rest of the descent into, I don't even know where that other place was that I went through. It was some sort of, it's like all this stuff up here is like ski resort style things, and everyone's like prepping. I could just kind of tell that like they're ready for those snow dumpings, and I'm ready to get out of here way before that happens, I hope. I have been told that as soon as I get to Vail, that's kind of like the last point at which I will be kind of like in the mountains per se. And I saw that Grand Junction, there was a sign at some point today for it being just a little shy, like 197 miles away. And I don't remember at what point I saw that sign and how many more miles I did after it. But I guess I'll probably be in Grand Junction, let's say, 2.5 days. So I guess, when you're finally in Grand Junction, which, by the way, I looked up the weather report for like a multitude of different places today, like Las Vegas, Grand Junction, Moab, what else? LA, San Francisco, Atlanta, Clayton, Georgia. Basically, I think, a lot of these places that are much lower in elevation are also much warmer. And again, it's quite chilly here. It's certainly like in the high 30s probably right now. I have everything I need for this kind of weather. I probably will sleep exceptionally well, but it certainly is cold, especially compared to what I would describe as just being merely brisk in Golden. Like Golden was like I could just put my sleeves down and maybe button my shirt up, and then I would be perfectly content with whatever the temperature was in that area, especially because it was kind of in a basin itself, like downtown Golden, so you always had to climb out of it if you were going anywhere, and so you'd usually warm up pretty quick. But yeah, this is like some serious cold, and again, I just can't imagine living in a climate like this because, biking is possible, obviously, but I don't know how much longer it will be, especially with just imminent snow. I don't know if this is a ski town. I got to think that they get dumped with like feet and feet of snow. And in fact, I know that they do. And it's just like at a point where you just can't bike through that, it's just like you'll fall, you'll hurt yourself if you can even get through it at all. So I'll just say no thank you for that to me. And yeah, this is a really cool spot, as I mentioned. I think one of my favorite things about this spot in particular is that this tunnel, should it start to rain, which is not in the forecast at all. In fact, the sky is only supposed to become more and more clear as the evening progresses. It was certainly, like I said, overcast all day, and it continues to be, I would say mostly cloudy is how I would describe this. There are some stars that are peeking through, which I'm excited to like rest my head down and just look up at. And yeah, like, I kept thinking about how like that book or that movie or whatever it was, the like how Stella got her groove back thing. And I felt like that today. I was like, this feels good. Like, I'm happy to see that all systems are still go. Systems are go. The systems are a go. I don't know. But yeah, it was just a trial by fire, honestly. I mean, you do an 8,000 foot day that's 70 miles long, in conditions that are like chilly like this, it's like, it's certainly a good indication of like how much fitness may have been lost or how much recovery might have been gained. And thankfully for me, I think I probably did. Well, it would be interesting. I haven't looked at the Strava to see like how many miles I actually did during that 10-day period when I first got to Denver all the way till leaving Golden. But for sure, I don't think I had any days that were over 40 miles. Maybe I had one that was like close to 50, but it was a very, very stark decrease in mileage, and obviously a very different tactical, logistical pursuit of like where to camp. Because again, one of the main reasons this style of stealth camping works is because you're not staying in the area. You get here, like I've said, after dark, you leave before first light, and in doing so, you're basically like, again, leaving only footprints and taking only pictures. So, yeah, a very good day. I'm very pleased with it. I don't really have an idea for tomorrow. I'm really... I talk to so many people in Golden, and, if you're listening to this and we talked, shout out to you, because I'm sure we shared some good information and a good connection. But I was able to actually put some context to a lot of the things that people had been telling me over the past several days, like just landmarks and place names and elevations, and, everything just kind of finally was contextualized by the ride today. which is awesome because, usually I'm just passing through without any real information about the area. So whatever I see, I see, and whatever I don't notice, I don't notice. But I was kind of primed to be a little bit more aware of like some of the areas I was passing through and like their significance, and also just like kind of what to expect as I made my way west finally. I will say there was a period of time, unfortunately, very, very early in the day, like maybe 30 miles or so in, that I had to jump on I-70, which was like, certainly this was like a bad place to jump on I-70. I won't go into detail too greatly because it's not, it wasn't good. But there was a bike path, but for some reason it was being worked on I don't know what they were doing, but it was closed. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't have any other option. And my understanding is that like when there are no other reasonable options, you're allowed to go on the interstate. So I went on the interstate for like 1 mile, and then thankfully was able to get off at the first exit that occurred after that and get back onto the frontage roads and the bike paths. So that was all good eventually. And yeah, man, here I am. I'm really excited again to just kind of reacclimate myself to this lifestyle. And I don't have any idea what's to come between here and Grand Junction, my next main stop. But yeah, the branding is going to switch a little bit now. All these episodes, instead of being called The Long Errand, which is now complete, they're going to be called like To Blank, wherever the next place I get to that is like a big hub that was like the general goal. So this next leg is going to be to Grand Junction. After that, I guess it'll be to Moab, and then to Las Vegas, and then I guess to LA, and then from there we'll keep evaluating how much fun and how warm we are. I wonder what the low is today in LA. I think it was like in the 60s, which is twice as warm as it is here, but that's okay. I'll warm up here in a minute once I finally get my sleeping bag and sleeping pad set up all complete. But yeah, I'm stoked. I want to wake up early. I need to wake up early. And I don't want anyone to walk by before I am awake. So let's hope that that's a reasonable desire. And yeah, my dude, I guess I'll leave it there for now. It's 8:09. I'd like to start transitioning into getting all my bed stuff ready because I need to crawl in and start. I need to start making some heat. I just ate a bunch of peanut butter and apples, so I should have like that endothermic kind of reaction going on with some high fat. So I should warm up pretty quickly. I'm not miserably cold, and the wind isn't really that bad, so I think it'll be fine. It kind of feels like the first night that I got to Galbraith, the pit toilet area that I was sleeping behind. Like when I first showed up there, it was like after all this rain had gone through, so the heat had been kind of sucked away, and it was really chilly and windy. Like my face was just kind of being blown by the wind all night. So thankfully that's not the case here. And again, it should be becoming more and more clear in the sky as the evening goes on. I think it's a half moon too tonight, so I'm not entirely sure. I think I can see where it is, and it's behind some clouds right now. If that came out while I was setting up my bed stuff, that'd be great. I wouldn't have to do too much work with my headlamp and all, give my position away to the enemy, So anyway, for now, I will leave it there, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. I think these clips are only going to continue to get better and better, and I will certainly be keeping anyone posted who might be listening to the interview when it's actually published that I had with Backpacker Radio. And yeah, man, just going to continue living that dream. All right. Well, if I can find the thing, I'll do the thing. Love you. Bye.